Well, welcome back, and thank you for joining me again on the podcast, this Straight Talk About Money podcast. Really good to be back. We got a little bit crazy there at the beginning of the year, and so I do apologize because we've not been able to have our podcast last week, but we're back again now. And I'm on a bit of a soapbox this particular week because I have been hearing a lot of people talking about their overdrafts. Oh my goodness. You would be amazed at how many people actually don't know they've got an overdraft. That's number one, which actually horrifies me. And number two, they actually go in and out of debt without really knowing because they don't understand this overdraft. And so I started to do a bit of research into this because one of my clients actually said to me, my goal this year is to actually get rid of my overdraft. I've been trying since I was 18. Now, this lady is in her early 20s. I can't remember exactly how old she is, but she's in her early 20s. So obviously she's had that for 3, 4, 5 years, and she's been trying to get rid of it. That's terrible. You know, what I have found when I went onto the different sites and I had a look at what, first of all, how do you get an overdraft? What's involved? What's the price of the overdraft? And some of the advertising material was really, really sad, but enticing, made it sound really good. I'm going to quote a few of them. It says, avoid the inconvenience of overdrawing your account and paying dishonor fees, helping you feel prepared for those unexpected expenses. Wow, gosh, all right. Let's not be inconvenienced when we're actually at the checkout or we're actually out with friends and, oh, no, sorry, you can't do this because you've got no money left. Let's not be inconvenienced by that. I'm actually being very cynical. I do apologize for those that don't like cynicism, but this really makes me mad because if we planned what we were going to do and we planned the expenses for the month and we had a look what was coming up and we managed our money well, we would not need an overdraft. And I feel like the banks play on our busyness, play on our mismanagement. They're not teaching us to manage. They're providing a product that realistically helps us to get further and further into debt. Now, yes, most of the overdrafts come with a bit of a limit, but from what I discovered, gosh, anywhere between $100 right up to $20,000. And you do have to have it pre-approved, but you're paying interest on these things. So at least around about 14% interest, more like 14.9. I did a comparison with 4 different banks. Some, mainly the major ones that you see and hear about all of the time. So anywhere between 14.9 up to 16.10% per annum charged daily. So let's say you've got a $500 overdraft and at the beginning of the day, you might be okay. You've not borrowed any money, but by the end of the day, you've gone over by $200. Then you're charged interest on that overdraft at 16.10% or 14.9. I've just got my calculator. Let's check this out. So let's say $500 times 14.9%. So that's the minimum one, divided by 365. Okay, so that might sound like, and this is how the bank would sell it, 20 cents per day. It doesn't sound like very much, but it will soon add up and you'll start to see fees and charges added onto it. Let's say many people with their overdrafts are well over $500. They're into the thousands. And what gets me is they actually don't know what they have got of their own money. Because one of the things that I do when I'm coaching is I say to people, what's the balance in your account? And someone with an overdraft will say, do you mean how much is available or how much have I got? And then I go, okay, well, let's have a look. I don't want to know what's available in your overdraft. I want to know what the balance is in your bank account. That's your money that you have got the availability of spending. And they are 2 very different things. But sometimes it's really hard for that person to find that information. What they're zeroing zeroing in on is what is available. Oh, that is so dangerous because, I might be checking my bank account and I'm out and about and I am buying and I'm not bothered because I'm not going to be inconvenienced by any overdrawing of my account because I've got my overdraft. So I'm more likely to not be as controlled. I'll just keep spending because it's okay. I've got an overdraft. So that type of thing, it really encourages overspending and the inconvenience of paying dishonor fees. What's inconvenient about that? It's a lesson. I think I would go for dishonor fees all the time because then that is a very definite boundary to stop you going over your limit. We've got to start thinking about this. The fact that, we've only got so much money in the bank and that's our limit. That's where we can go up to. Now, of course, good old budgeting, and I love budgeting. We've got to know, well, we've got the rent coming out or the mortgage. I've got to buy groceries this week. I've got the electricity bill or I need to put away for my bills. I want to save so much because I'm saving up for a new laptop, whatever. Then how much have I got left? Well, that's what you've got for your spending outside of your fixed expenses. You have got to work out what that is, not relying on an overdraft. One of the other things people have said to me is, I'm just looking at some of the comments that I've got down here, just the fact that I don't know if I have got an overdraft or not. I just do this. And so it's a very confusing thing. And so I'm wondering about how are these overdrafts actually sold to a potential client? Do people go in and when they're taking out a bank account, they're saying, would you like to attach an overdraft to that? That means that if ever you're out and about and you need to access some extra cash, you've got it there. That is that's very tempting, especially if you live very tightly. Oh, well, I could, but you have to pay it back. It's not your money and you're going to pay interest on it. The other thing they may say to you is things like, well, it's cheaper than a credit card. Now, I had a quick look at credit cards as well. And really, some credit cards you can get a little bit cheaper. But, they start about 14 and go right up to 20 odd % on that. But, for me, even though I don't like credit cards because I think you should spend the money that you have. And there's a certain place for credit cards, and I'll explain that in a minute. But when you have a credit card as opposed to an overdraft, you definitely know that you owe some money. Because when you get a bill either online or in the post at the end of every month, it will give you a statement and say, this is what you spent this month, this is what you owe, the minimum payment, so this is the least we want from you, is this amount, or this is the whole amount that we want from you to pay your credit card off so you won't be charged interest. And somewhere in that bill, if you're not paying your credit card off every month, you will have an interest payment. Well, I feel like that's an actual bill. So you feel like, yes, I've got a bill. I owe the bank some money. But an overdraft is very sneaky. And an overdraft makes me cross because people go in and out of debt without them really knowing. And just that being completely unaware of what they owe. Am I in overdraft? Am I not? And then, of course, let's say you go $500 into overdraft and you get paid again before you even start that week, that fortnight, that month, you're down $500. So again, you've got to go and borrow another $500 from the overdraft. It really perpetuates overspending and a lack of boundaries and a lack of planning. So I would urge you to think very carefully about saying yes when you go and open up a bank account, a savings account, a normal transaction account, and the teller or the salesperson says to you, would you like to have an overdraft with that? Please say no to overdrafts. We don't like them. I do think there's a place every now and again for a business who's in retail to have some sort of an overdraft, because that can be cheaper when they're buying and selling and it's to do with cash flow. But most of us are not business people. We're just in our everyday finances. We do not need overdraft. I think business is very specific And I am in business and I do not want an overdraft. So even there, I would tread very carefully. But people in the retail section, I do understand sometimes why that happens. But I've seen people get into a mess for that as well. So my warning to you is, personally, you do not need an overdraft. Business-wise, think very carefully. Go and see somebody in business or a business advisor, not the bank, to ask about those questions and be very, very specific. So I'm sorry I've had a rant today, but I was a little bit perturbed when I really did go looking, because those interest rates, anywhere from 14 up to 16% per annum, but charged daily. And the other thing I forgot to mention is the monthly bank fee. So there was one bank that did not charge a monthly bank fee, but their interest rate was huge. It was like 16.10. All the rest ranged from $5 per month, $10 a month. So even though you don't use the overdraft, you're paying $5, $10 a month. Another one charged $35 for 6 months, which works out to be $5.83 a month. So there's a definite charge along the way that, you don't need it. If you plan your finances, you plan the spending of your money, you write a budget and you keep to it, that overdraft is completely unnecessary. So we're not avoiding the inconvenience of not having enough money when you're at the checkout or out and about. We're going to face that. If that's happening to you, then organize your finances and organize your budget. Lovely to chat to you today. Hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you again next week.